I found a bunch of different ways of installing meter poles in the ground. I never found one that worked quite right for one that already has the pre-installed panels on them. So I'm going to show you the way that I've found to do this. Unfortunately, it requires a decent sized tractor with a loader, but I'll kind of go through it, and if you have something that's about that size, it's worth a try. All right, so here's the setup. So we actually take the tractor and we drive it over the bottom of where we're gonna set the pole in. So bottom is over here, top's over there. So we actually drive the tractor over. I've lifted this end a little bit to let us get underneath that front axle. Put the bucket down on top of the pole, and then we are going to take these ratchet straps and we're going to hitch around the bottom, run one around the back so that'll hold it at the bottom, and then we're going to put another set from the top kind of down, one set from over there down, and another set from over here down, triangulate. And then what we can do is with that underneath there, I'll knock it off that log. We're going to just basically take this whole setup and slowly lift and then curl and then lift and then curl and lift and curl. And as we do that, this will swing out from underneath the tractor, and eventually it'll actually be sitting something like this in front of the tractor on the loader up in the air. So we'll basically have a giant unicorn horn on the front of this tractor. All right, now that we got it strapped, we've got a hitch going over the top around the pole, nice and tight, over around the other side of the bucket. I've got one ratchet strap here going to that side. I've got a ratchet strap on that side crossing over and going down to that pole. And then I've got this guy right here looped down to that one. This is going to be what's holding the majority of our weight when we actually lift the pole. So here goes nothing. As soon as I get this lifted, I'll kick that log out from under it, and then we'll get on with getting this placed. Okay, we're partway through lifting this, and it's in the air. I'm not going to get under this. The air, this is taking the weight. We're already up in the air on this end. All of our straps are good and tight. It's kind of a good time to double check that everything is still working exactly the way that you want it. Now we're going to finish curling. Now that we're positioned, so I've positioned it directly over the hole, this is where you really need to begin to pay close attention to what you're doing. So we're hovering right over the hole, and what we're going to do is we're going to bring this in and kind of slowly lean this back as we're in the hole, but you do not want to stand this straight up to put it in the hole, because if these two lines go slack, once this thing tilts back, it can go side to side and you don't have much control over it. So if you have to stand this straight back up, you're gonna have to reposition your bucket so that it's directly up against the pole. I don't have enough curl in my bucket to be able to do that. So the way that I've kind of got it is a little bit of an oblong hole, put it in, stand it up. And just like that, pole in the ground. So now, like I said, you got to be really careful, because as soon as the weight came off of this, you see we're loose. That one even popped off. The bottom one, still very tight. But what we need to be careful about is now your top ones have kind of slack. And notice that it's up against my bucket. So that's what I was saying just a second ago. So be extremely careful about that. But we're in the hole. We're now, quote unquote, safe. Still want to use caution. But we can take this top strap off, and then we can take this bottom strap off, and we can remove the tractor, and we can do the rest by hand. All right, once the tractor's out of the way, all straps can be pulled off. There's a couple things to remember if you try this method. Dig a hole that's quite a bit larger than the pole itself, and give yourself plenty of room to angle it in there, and get, go from that, I don't know whether it's the 30 or 45 degree angle while it's on the tractor to stand in vertical. Also, dig your hole a little deeper than you want, mainly because when this goes in, you're going to scrape quite a bit of dirt off the side, especially if you're like here, which has a pretty sandy loam. You're going to scrape a fair amount of dirt into that hole. So dig it a little deeper. Shooting for 4 feet, so I overshot it by a few inches. And then you don't have to worry too much about actually having your meter pole pointing the direction you want when you put it in. So just kind of don't worry about that too much. You can twist on this and get it the way you want it. So don't worry about that too much. But yeah, that's the way I've done a few of these. Kind of this disclaimer: be very careful with this. The risk is yours, essentially, is what I'm saying. Also, I do not know the minimum size of tractor that you would need to make this method work. You'd need a certain amount of clearance to just clear the pole. But for reference, that's a 70 horsepower tractor with all equipment, loader and everything, weighs just shy of 10,000 pounds. So it's a decent sized tractor. So best of luck. Again, if you do this method, you are taking all risk into your own hands, but this is the way that I've done a few of these, and it's worked out well for me.